Welcome to Stitching the Dream, the podcast for quilt lovers. I'm Tasha, a quilt-obsessed working mom building a business one stitch at a time. Around here, we're all about good vibes, real talk, and cheering each other on. Hey, everybody. So today, I want to talk to you about how you can make money quilting. Now, I think deciding to turn your hobby into a side hustle or a job is a big decision that we could probably have an entire episode about. I think this is a very personal decision. And there are a lot of good reasons to do it and a lot of good reasons not to do it. But we're going to assume that today you've made the decision that you want to do this. So I'm going to walk through some ideas that I have listed for myself on the different opportunities you could possibly have to make money in the quilting industry. Now, why do I think that I have any authority on the matter to speak on this? Because to be quite honest with you, my business of Tasha Quilts has existed for about a year. And I would not say I'm turning a profit. However, I think I have laid a solid framework for this, and I have compiled these ideas for myself. What you might not know about me are a couple fun facts. I have a CPA, I'm an accountant by day, I have an MBA, and when I research something, I research it obsessively, in which I have done that revenue streams for a potential online quilting business excessively. So I just thought I would share this list that I've had built for myself in case there's somebody out there like you who could benefit from it and maybe save you some of the research that I had to do. Now, I am going to provide the Google Docs that I keep for myself to you if you sign up for my newsletter. So I'll put the link below. If you sign up for my newsletter, all you do is check your email and you click a button and you'll go right to the Google Doc, and then you can save a copy for yourself. Or if you keep the link, if I come up with other ideas to add, I will do so. I started Tasha Quilts, I want to say it's maybe almost 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago now. And before I did it, I created a list for myself to give myself ideas. And I've updated it over the years as I've taken courses. I took a pattern rating course. I watch podcasts, actually an unhealthy amount of time to gain additional knowledge. So I am just going to share this all with you, but this is not financial advice. Obviously, you need to make these decisions. You need to think about them carefully before you dive into anything. I feel very passionately about quilting and business. And so I'm going to try not to ramble today, but as you know, if you've been here at all, you're running the risk of me rambling if you're here. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is just the obvious stuff to get it out of the way. You could sell quilts and other quilt products. You make bags, ornaments, whatever it is, anything quilty out there, you can sell it. You can also commission your time for making commission quilts. So think t-shirt quilts, requests on demand. Somebody's got a pattern and the fabric, they want to make something, you can commission yourself to make those quilts. You can also offer your services to repair quilts. And if you're a long armer, you can, long arm quilts for people and maybe some other finishing services. I think not only long arm, but you could offer to take quilt tops and, finish them for people all the way to the final quilt. Quilt, trim, bind, all that fun stuff. So I feel like those are the most accessible, but they're also, I think, maybe the hardest things to do. I think when people find out that I have a website, Tasha Quilts, and all of the things, they assume that I'm in the business of wanting to take on commissioned quilts. But actually, that's furthest from the truth. I really have very little interest in selling actual quilts and commissioning quilts at this time. It's just not good for my lifestyle. I have a full-time job and kids. And I want to make quilts that I want to make at this stage of my life, right? Not saying later on in life, if I wasn't working a corporate job, I could take on some t-shirt quilts and stuff like that. I'd be happy to do it. And I am happy to do those things for people who are close to me or I know, but I don't want to start doing t-shirt quilts for random people I don't know. Another option you can do, which I think is a little bit more labor intensive, is actually getting into the business of selling physical products. Some of the things, you could sell fabric and fabric bundles and quilt kits and quilt patterns. If you have some quilt patterns, I had in the back of my mind that maybe someday after I write a quilt pattern, maybe I would bundle up a quilt kit with the cover fabrics. You can get into basically selling products that anything that you would buy, right? You could get into the business of selling those things. Rulers, templates, notions, irons, ironing boards, and ironing accessories, sewing tables and storage, sewing machines themselves, even things like English paper piecing papers and foundation paper piecing papers and templates, right? You could really think of anything you've bought. You could sell that. Again, selling physical products is a bigger commitment. It could involve inventory on hand, physically shipping those items, but it's certainly an option, and it is something that I am exploring when I'm thinking about expanding. I'm definitely thinking about working on getting some templates for my quilt patterns. And like I said, I'm definitely have thought about fabric bundles to go with my quilt patterns and certainly physical quilt patterns. So some other things you could consider selling are planners, calendars, and other merchandise. Think stickers, clothes, and print on demand merch. So I want to take this opportunity to do my weekly quilty shout out a little bit earlier in the episode. I want to shout out Jen Lopez from By the Yard Comics. She sells calendars of comics that she draws herself. They're super funny. I just got myself my calendar for 2026. It's sitting here waiting. I actually should hang it up. I could hang it up early, but I'm really excited. So this is another option, right? Like you can sell things that are quilt related to quilters. I do not have the talent of designing a calendar, but if you do, something you can think about. I will link Jen's Etsy shop down below. It's super cute. I think she also has some for crocheters and knitters and all kinds of things. And there's nothing better than supporting a small woman-owned business. And then with things like merchandise, you can explore something that's called print on demand. So whenever you are not all the time, but some of the time, you have a favorite YouTuber or other person you're watching and they're offering what people call merch, a sweatshirt or t-shirt with something printed on it, that's often print on demand. What that means is you work with a company and you kind of send them your artwork, they mock it all up, and then when somebody orders it, they print it to order and ship it to them. So you don't, as an individual, have to hold on to any inventory. You just have to provide the designs, and you have to market it and sell it. But then once you sell it, that company will fulfill that order for you. This is also on my list of things to do in the future. I feel like having some funny quilty gear that's, right up my alley of my own sense of humor would be fun to have. But so when you see people selling mugs and stuff, this might be what they're doing. It's not always the case, right? But it is a nice option because you're not holding on to physical inventory. Another great option for quilters would be digital product. And this is kind of where I've started my journey. Think of a digital product as something that somebody accesses online. You're not worried about shipping a physical product or coordinating a physical product. Everything happens online. My most common digital product will be my quilt patterns, right? But then there's also communities and memberships, cheat sheets, kind of like the one I'm providing for free, but you could charge, if you go a little bit more in detail, you could charge for that. Ebooks, quilt pattern templates. I actually have a bunch for free, but I just started listing some for sale with written directions. And you could take it as far as even quilt pattern designs for long arming. I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert, but I do know for a fact that a lot of people who have digital long arms are downloading a file to do that long arming. So there has to be a way to design those and sell those, panographs. And one thing that I have listed for sale and that I enjoy making are SVG files for like cutting machines. Think Cricut, Brother Scan and Cut, the Silhouette. So I make EPP files that I want to make, and then I cut them on my Cricut and I sell just the SVG file. It's another one of those things where I've always thought, wouldn't it could be kind of fun to get into the business of actually cutting the papers and selling them. But again, getting into the physical papers is a lot more work. So selling the SVG files for people to cut at home is a nice option. Basically, think of anything that you as a quilter have ever purchased and got delivered to you through your email, right? And I guess I'm going to take this opportunity. If you've made it this far, please like, subscribe, leave reviews, leave a comment. Those things are all free and they help me out so much. And if you would like to join a friendly quilty community, please come hang out with us in the Clubhouse. I'll put the link below. We do challenges, we chat with each other, we do Zoom calls. My Paddles Crossing pattern is included in the membership, and I have a lot of fun stuff planned for 2026. So come to the curvy side, come hang out with us if you're interested. Okay, back to it. What is another thing that you can sell and how to make money quilting? Well, maybe you've thought about teaching. If you're a quilter, that's a lot of great knowledge that you have. You can present to quilt guilds. You can do that either in person or virtually. Since the pandemic, I have definitely attended quite a few virtual Zoom meetings through my quilt guild. So that's definitely an option. You can teach classes in your local quilt shops, or even not so local quilt shops. You can host your own in-person or virtual quilt classes. You can do one-on-one quilting lessons. You can put out a little notice in your community and invite somebody into your sewing room to try to learn how to learn this craft. You can offer quilt on-demand classes, and there's a million different platforms out there to list your classes and courses for sale. And you can also teach in something specialized and unique that isn't exactly quilting? Do you have an art background and you understand how color works together? Do you do a unique thing in your quilting, like couching or adding, I don't know, whatever it is that you do? Teach somebody about it. They might be curious about it. If you're really good at technology, like designing quilt patterns or designing SVG files or marketing, or you've really grown your social media page large, those are all things that you could teach and give somebody the knowledge of how to do that. Another area that is an opportunity to make money is pattern writing. So we've talked about that. You can write the pattern, you can sell it as a digital pattern, you can sell it as a physical pattern. But did you know you could also write patterns for magazines and get paid to do that? Did you know that you could ghostwrite patterns? There are people out there, companies out there that will pay you to write quilt patterns for them. And you just, hand over the rights to the quilt pattern as a ghostwriter. And again, this kind of comes up with a membership. There are so many great monthly memberships where you can get awesome quilt patterns delivered to you every single month. If you have a talent for designing and writing quilt patterns, you could set up something like that, a membership where you're distributing a quilt pattern at a specific frequency. Another part of the quilting industry that I didn't know about until I started writing quilt patterns is tech editing. So when I write a pattern, I send it over to my tech editor, who I'll link down below, who is wonderful. And she goes through it with a fine-tooth comb and tells me about my grammar and my math and if it's easy to flow and if it makes sense, and suggestions on my diagrams, and makes my quilt pattern 1,000 times better than it was when it started. That's something that you're interested in. I'm pretty sure there's courses out there to teach you how to become a tech editor. So that is one aspect of the quilt industry that you could look into. Pattern testing exists out there. So somebody writes a pattern, they want it tested. Sometimes this is paid work. Sometimes this is unpaid work. Sometimes your payment is the free pattern. Sometimes some designers will actually pay you in cash. It's going to be different based off how well established each pattern writer is and what their financial situation looks like. Or if you watch on social media, sometimes pattern writers they'll actually put out calls for pattern testers. And then you could also get into another physical thing you could do is sewing machine maintenance and repair. I feel like people always need their machines fixed, and I feel like there's always a backlog around here. I was trying to convince my husband that he should start learning how to fix sewing machines, and we can get into that. I haven't convinced him yet, but I'll let you know if I'm successful. And then one other cool thing that I thought of is fabric design. So naturally, if you love quilting and you're artistic, you could get into fabric design. There's it's called surface pattern design. There's people out there who work with fabric companies and design all kinds of fabric for those fabric companies. And then as I sit here and it comes to mind, it's not on my list, but then don't forget, you can always go work for a company that you love in the quilting industry. And then the last topic I want to talk about is quilty content creation. That's what I'm doing here today. So a lot of platforms have ways to monetize your content: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. As you all know, I recently got monetized on YouTube. I can link my podcast episode about that. I have not gotten monetized on other platforms. There's a lot of details to learn about their different monetization programs, and I focused on YouTube as my primary platform. I do have an okay following on TikTok, enough that I can sell things in the TikTok shop, but I'm not really interested in that, and I'm not getting paid for views yet. So if you have a platform or want to start building a platform, I would really recommend, where do you like to spend your time? If you like spending your time on Facebook, maybe look into what Facebook's monetization is. If you spend all your time on Instagram, maybe look into that. I love watching YouTube. I watch YouTube more than I watch television, so it was very natural for me to want to explore YouTube. I think it's a wonderful platform, and I like that I can document my process and sew what I want to sew, and hopefully people will enjoy watching that. Another way to make money through content creation is through affiliate links. So let's talk about that. So for example, I bought this calendar. I like this calendar. I have an affiliate program with Etsy where if I link things to Etsy through my special link and you buy it, it doesn't cost you anything else, but I get a little marketing commission. Basically, I'm getting paid because I took my time to make a piece of content that promoted that product and you trusted me enough to go buy it. And so I think sometimes people think affiliate links are sketchy. They're not sketchy in and of themselves, right? It's just a way, it's an advertising budget. That company is like, oh, hey, you advertised for me. You got me a sale. Here's a little bit of money for you. As long as you're watching and following somebody that you know and trust, it should be fine. So affiliate income is a really good option. If you build an audience and you build trust with your audience, that they have faith that you're only going to recommend good products to them. And if you recommend something, they trust you enough to click that link and go get the revenue. It does help creators out a ton if you know and love somebody and you are buying something because you saw it from them, it helps them out a ton if you use their links. So it's a great opportunity for you if you have a social platform. Affiliate income is pretty easy to get started with Amazon, and there's a whole bunch of them. I could probably make a whole video on this, and I would if somebody was interested in all the different companies you can sign up for. I'm affiliated with quite a few companies now, and I don't really promote them all that much. I just, wherever it comes up naturally, right? Like if I bought something and I'm going to make a video about it, I just try to go find an affiliate program for it. And if it exists, I sign up and then I use the affiliate link. But sometimes I don't want to go through the trouble of for one video to get an affiliate link, and I'll just link it without the affiliate income. So yeah, I could go on and on for days about affiliate income, but that's a great way to look into things. If you just are a quilter who has a platform, look into affiliate income for sure. Then, of course, if you have a big enough platform, people could possibly pay you for brand deals. I don't have a huge platform here on YouTube. I've gotten a couple little brand deal offers. Nothing has been good enough for me to want to kind of go down that road, but it does give me encouragement that as I get bigger, maybe the right brand deal will come along and I will take the first brand deal that's a good deal of something I actually like. But until then, I'll be choosy. And so having a social media, reaching out for brand deals. If you have a website, you can put display ads on that website and earn money anytime anybody visits your website. So if you go to a website and they have a bunch of ads, think, yay, good for them. They're actually making money on their quilting website. If you have a social media presence, you can, on YouTube, there's a membership option for sure. On TikTok, there's one for sure. I don't use either one of those, but you could turn on subscriptions or memberships and you could offer additional benefits. And it's a pretty easy way to bring in some additional revenue based off of your existing audience and like some perks that you might want to give them. And as I sit here talking to you, I also just thought of something else that I just added to the list. Is called Buy Me a Coffee. This is a service where you could just put the link out there. I have one of these links. I should throw it in my descriptions. Maybe I'll give myself that homework before this is done. I've never used it. And basically it's, hey, did you enjoy this content? If so, you can buy me a coffee and somebody can shoot you $3 as like a little tip, a little thank you, a little way to treat yourself and to thank you for your content. So that's more directly asking for money. So that one's a little tougher for me, but because I always like to make sure that I'm giving value for something, but it is a nice way because there are definitely people out there who create these beautiful, wonderful tutorials or these deep dives into things I'm super interested in. And they've had a buy me a coffee link and I'm thrilled to send them some money to thank them for their service, right? Like to set, because it's an idea that I loved or it saved me a bunch of time. So that is another option. And I'm sure I'm just scratching the surface of content creation and the different ways that you can make money. I know there's like user generated content where brands can actually pay you to make videos for them. I haven't dabbled in that. Maybe I'll add that to the list, even though that's something I'm not super familiar with. All kinds of good and exciting stuff out there. But really, it all starts with you have to have an audience of some kind, whether you're selling a physical product, whether you're selling digital products, whether it's through content creation, you have to have somebody who's watching you to be able to, reap the revenue benefits from that. Now, an exception to this might be if you just sell something straight up on Etsy or you make a website and you're really good at SEO, search engine optimization. And if somebody Googles something, you could pay for advertisements and stuff like that. But really, having an audience and starting to grow an audience is important. And like I said, I would pick a platform you're comfortable with. And if that sounds like a nightmare to you and it feels like, that's a lot of work. Well, it is work. And maybe you don't want to turn quilting into work. So that is something you need to think about. Okay, I rambled for quite a long time today. If there's any one of these topics that you were like, Tasha, could you please deep dive and show me what you know about that topic? Like maybe affiliate income might be a good one for quilters. Let me know. I will be happy to do that. Of course, it won't be instant because life. But don't forget to sign up for my newsletter to get access to that Word document or the Google Doc. Let me know if you think I forgot anything. So that's it for today's episode of Stitching the Dream. If you're looking for a good vibes quilting community, come hang out with me inside the Quilters Clubhouse. We cheer each other on, have challenges, we hang out in Zoom. And right now you can join for $8 a month and you can get a copy of my Petals Crossing quilt pattern included. And like I said, I have fun things planned in store for 2026. You'll find the link in the show notes or go to clubhouse.tashaquilts.com. And don't forget to come back every Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern for a new episode of Stitching the Dream. Take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.